Hello everyone, my name is Kadhir and I'm one of the teachers here at Everyone Engineers. Today we're going to be talking about operators in Python. This video is a part of a series where in last video I talked about data types and variables and how you can use different types of data types. And today we're going to be talking about operators, which can be used to perform operations on these types of variables and data types. So let's get started. First up, there are three main types of operators. So you have arithmetic operators, and you have logical operators, and you also have comparison operators. So let's get started with arithmetic operators. Arithmetic basically means math, and these operators include mathematical operators. So you have the addition symbol, the subtraction symbol, the multiplication symbol, which is a star in Python and most other programming languages, and you also have the division symbol, which is a slash. We're also going to be adding in one other important arithmetic operator. It's called the modulus, and what this operator does is that it returns the remainder of the division of two values. So let's take a look at how these work. So I'm going to define variables here. So I'm going to call A equals 6, and I'm going to say B equals 5. And we're also going to need two more variables for later, but I'm going to define them later. So I'm going to write a print statement now. And say we want to print A plus B. Instead of manually doing the addition ourselves and printing it out, we can actually use the arithmetic operator plus symbol to print this out as we go. So if these numbers were very large numbers, we can use the arithmetic operator. So I'm just going to say A plus B. And when we run this program, as you can see, we get 11, and that's the expected answer for A plus B. So we can do this with all these other operators. So we can do print A minus B, and we're gonna get 1, and I can just copy this and do multiply and run the program, and we get 30. 5 times 6 is 30, or 6 times 5, it doesn't really matter. So the division part gets a little more complicated. So the three we looked at so far only return when you input an integer. So A is an integer and B is an integer, it's going to output only an integer. Whereas in the division, when you input an integer, there is a chance that you can possibly get a float answer or an answer that contains decimal points. So let's take a look. So when I change this to the slash or the divide symbol and I run this program, as you can see, the fourth output is 1.2, and although that's the right answer, the division part is a little more complicated because of this. So the last operator we're going to talk about in arithmetic operators is modulus, and what modulus does is that it returns the remainder of a division. So when I replace this with modulus and run the program, we get 1 because 6 divided by, so 5 divides into 6 perfectly one time, and you still have 1 remaining, and that 1 is what we have here. So if I make this 5 say 4 and run the program, we get 2 because there's still 2 more values remaining until we get to 6. So I'm going to change this back to 5. So next, let's talk about logical operators. So logical operators are operators that can be used to compare two logical statements. So the three main types of logical operators are AND, OR, and NOT. So AND and OR are pretty similar, and NOT serves a little different purpose, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So let's first talk about AND and OR. So what the AND does is it can take two logical values or Boolean values, which is true or false, and compare them, and only if both of those values are true, it's going to return true. If not, the entire expression is going to return false. So to identify an expression, I'm just going to be using brackets, and inside the print statement, I'm going to put in 2 brackets for an expression, and I'm just going to say true and true. So if you remember from the last video, true is a Boolean variable, and it's also a keyword in Python. And is also a keyword in Python, and so you can't make it a variable name or anything. So let's take a look at what's happening here. So you have one expression. So this entire thing is an expression, and inside that you have two arguments. Let's just call them arguments. So true is an argument, and the other true is the second argument. And the and in the middle is comparing both of these values and checking if they're both true. And so when we run this program, we get true because both these values are true. Whereas if we change one of them to false and run the program, we're going to get false because although one is true, the other one is not. And so the final answer is going to be false. So this can be helpful when you're trying to compare two things and to make sure that they're the same. You can use and. So let's take a look at or. So the or operator basically is the opposite of and. So when I replace this with or, it needs either one of these arguments to be true. So if either this one is true or this one is true, it's going to return true. So even if I change both of them to true and run the program, it's going to return true. The only time this won't work is when both of the arguments are false. So when I run this program, false. And same thing with and. So it's not comparing two values. So it's not comparing like 1 and 1. It's going to compare the actual value of the argument. So false and false, although they're both the same, it's still going to return false because the value of false, or the first argument, is false. So let's look at not. So not is a logical operator that can go in front of a Boolean expression. So I'm gonna put another pair of brackets around false. And now what I'm gonna do is type in not in these brackets. So not is also a keyword, and so basically it negates the Boolean expression that it's behind. So right now false is going to be true, so this entire expression is going to be true. And if I change this to true and run the it's not uppercase, true, and run the program, as you can see we get true because although we're using the and operator, we're also using the not operator to negate whatever we're saying. So let's take a look at comparison operators now. Comparison operators are operators that can be used to compare two different values, numerical values in specific. So these include symbols such as the greater than symbol, or the greater than symbol, the less than symbol, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and we have two more. So this is the equal to symbol. So the reason we're using two equals and not just one is because a single equal is an assignment operator which gets a little more complex, but what assignment operators do is basically just assign a value to something. So there are more than one type of assignment operators, and that will be a topic for a different video. So equal is just equal to, so it basically checks if two numbers are the same, and not equal to is the opposite of equal to, which basically checks if two numbers are not the same. So this condition only passes when a certain number is not, so let's say the input asks the user to input anything that's not 5. So this condition will be false if the user inputs 5. Anything else, it's going to be true. So let's look at some examples of what these operators do. So I'm going to do print statement again and do a less than b. And so let's go back up here. So a is not less than b, so we're going to expect false as our output here. So that's another thing. False. The comparison operators always return a Boolean data type. Let's take a look at greater than. If I change this, we're going to get true now because a is greater than b. So I'm going to go back in here to the variables at the top and change this to 6, just so they're equal now. So when we run this program, we're going to get false for both greater than and less than, because equal to, the program's not going to know what to do when you're trying to compare two of the same numbers. So to make sure that doesn't happen, we have less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. So when we do less than or equal to, okay, I'm gonna copy this and paste that here and change the sign so we can run both of them at the same time. So when I run this, we're going to get false for both greater than and less than. Whereas if you look at the greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, we're going to get true. Because it passes one of the cases, which is equal to. So I'm going to go back in here and change it to 5. Actually, before we do that, I can also talk about the equal. So print a equal b. We're going to get true for this one too because both of the values are the same. So now let's take a look at not equal to. I'm going to go back in here and change it to 5. And when we do print a not equal to b, and also to get the not equal to symbol, we're going to do the exclamatory mark and then the equal to. And when we run the program, we get true for this because 6 is not equal to 5. And if I go back in here and make it 6 and run the program, we're going to get false because they're both the same value. That's going to be it for today, guys. If you have any comments or questions or concerns, make sure to leave it in the comments and like this video. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.